Okay. Finally, we have the last session of Bionet 7. We'll have 2 lectures. The first one from Professor Amal Kasry, and then Dr. Sameh Al-Saidi. So, in brief, let us me to introduce you Dr. Amal Kasry. Just a bit. Dr. Amal Kasry is an academic scientist with a wide range of international experience in material science and nanobiotechnology. She received a fellowship from Max Planck Institute for Polymer Research and got her PhD from Johannes Gutenberg University in Mainz in Germany in 2006. Now, Dr. Amal Kasry is the chief of section for innovation and capacity building in science and engineering in the division of science policy and capacity building natural science sector of UNESCO, the main headquarters in Paris, France. Dr. Amal Kasry will give us a lecture titled Nanotechnology and the Future of Societies. Please, Dr. Amal.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just full screen, please.
Can you see my slides?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Ashraf Khalil. Thank you very much for this kind invitation. I am very happy actually to speak in this conference because this is not the first time I joined this. Thank you very much. Actually, this time it will be a bit different, so I'm not going to speak about my research, which I left maybe 4 months ago to join UNESCO. I will mention just one part of this research as an example. However, I will try to focus more on UNESCO and the natural science sector, and specifically the section of capacity building in basic science and engineering, to show what we do and the role in promoting science and engineering all over the world. So I hope this will not take you out of the field of scientific research. It's still related to it. It will be just a bit different. So I will start.
Dr. Amal, can you try full screen from the PowerPoint?
You don't see full screen? I thought it is full screen.
Yeah, from the PowerPoint problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this. I don't know why it doesn't work.
No problem. Take your time.
Okay. It looks like quite. I don't understand.
Maybe you can stop share and then open it from PowerPoint again and make it full screen. Yeah.
What about this now? Can you see it?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I'm going just to start with a very brief outline. So this outline is talking about, I'm going to talk about 4 main points. First, I will start by mentioning some examples about the nanotechnology, as I mentioned, from my work actually, but just as an example, just to take us into the mood of the nanotechnology. I'm sure you are into it already by the lecture of Professor Malik. And then I will mention also biosensing, which I have a great passion for, as most of you know, as also an example of using nanomaterials in this field and how it can advance it. And then I will move to UNESCO and the natural science sector, and specifically, as I mentioned, the capacity building and in basic science and engineering. So let me start with this, let us say, adventure or voyage. Maybe many of you know this interesting movie, which is called Fantastic Voyage. It was produced in 1966, and this movie actually was quite creative at that time. Was quite, 1966. The term nanotechnology wasn't really known, and it was not about nano. However, it was about shrinking a size or imagining of shrinking a size of a submarine to go inside the body, invade the body, and try to repair some damage in the brain. It's a very interesting movie. If you didn't see it, please try to watch it. You will enjoy it, I'm sure. So let us call it was maybe nano submarine. The idea of this voyage going inside the body reflects somehow some of the current activities in the field of nanotechnology using nanomaterials in different applications. One of them is biotechnology, like drug delivery and so on. It is just, I wanted just to start with something maybe light like this, just to give you the idea. As we all know, also maybe this slide most of you know, nanotechnology means reducing the size to the nanoscale. So if we imagine the size of the Earth having a diameter of 12,756 kilometers, imagine now you are reducing the size to 0.7 nanometer. So this is like 1 billion times smaller than the size of the Earth. So how should we work with the nanomaterials or in the nanoscale? I always like to say that nanomaterial or nanotechnology is a field which is under the umbrella of material science. In the end, it is material science. So we are dealing with materials. We have always to remember this. And to deal with materials, this means that we synthesize, we produce, we process these materials, and then we have to characterize it. We have to study all the function, all the properties of it, the structure and the different properties, and then the performance. And this, by understanding the performance, we can move to the applications. So you first study the material or the structure by imaging, for example, and then you do different processes like this one here, where you modify the surface, for example, and then you do the characterization, surface imaging like AFM or OCM or XPS, for example, to study the chemical groups on the surface. And then you move to something like the application, what you see up here, which is basically using nanomaterial as a sensor to be stuck to the teeth to monitor the hygiene of the mouth. This is one application. I'm just mentioning, again, very brief examples of this. I will just move quickly to, so here I just wanted to again confirm and emphasize that it is all about basic science and engineering. And I will mention why I emphasize this in a couple of minutes. So again, one example from my old work actually, which is related to biosensing and biotechnology. So the biosensor is basically a tool that the final target of it, or the final aim, or the final objective is to detect some diseases at early stage. The biosensor mainly is composed of, or the main components of it is the analyte. This means what exactly we want to detect. We need first to define this very clearly, what to detect. And then we have our transducer, and this could be the technique, the mechanism itself we use, which can be electrical or optical or mechanical. And this interface is extremely important between the transducer and the analyte. This is very, very important because this is how we define the sensitivity and the specificity of our sensor. And then comes the signal, and our aim is usually to produce or design such sensor in a portable format, easy to use, not expensive, so we can monitor some or detect the disease at early stage. So as physicists, I used to work a lot with this for like 15, 20 years, working on biosensing technologies, trying to develop new technologies, trying to develop highly sensitive biosensors to detect proteins, to study protein-protein interactions or DNA-protein interactions. And we did a lot of things. However, I will mention only one example of how we can play with the materials, which you are all familiar with, which is graphene, how to modify or manipulate the structure of this material in order to use it as a sensor, as a highly sensitive biosensor, actually. So I know that most of you work with graphene in a way or another, either preparing it chemically or by chemical vapor deposition or by easy methods in the lab. graphene has drawn a lot of attention in the last maybe 20 years due to its unique properties. As you can see here, it is basically it has a zero band gap. Sometimes we call it zero band gap semiconductor, if this is the correct term, and this makes it unique material actually. Also, the conduction and the valence band are defined by two inequivalent sets of Dirac cones, and this enhances the electrical and the optical properties due to the interband and intraband transitions. With time, lots of methods were developed to produce the graphene. So the thin layer of graphene is only 0.3 nanometer, which makes it possible to be deposited on flexible substrates, for example, as we see here in this photo below. So these unique properties and the easy methods to produce graphene made it very attractive for several applications. In our case, we did a lot of things with graphene. However, one of the things that was very interesting for us, and we focused on it in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, was how to modify the structure of graphene in order to use it in sensor. I just said that it has zero band gap semiconductor, which makes it difficult to use it in many applications. How to go around this? Imagine here, as you see here in this slide, if we create kind of holes in the graphene by removing some atoms, this will basically modify the structure of it. It's like you are stealing some of the energy states, and this leads to opening a gap. Once you open a gap, you can use it in different applications, either electrical or optical, because once you open a gap here, you can allow the charges to move from one band to the next, and this leads to the release of some energy. So, and also you can also detect this either optically or electrically. So this was quite interesting for us, and this idea was actually patented in 2015. And then we started how to use it then as a sensor. The idea was that since you steal these atoms or remove these atoms, you create an active site. When there is an active site, you allow some biological molecules to be attached to it. And once this happens, you are again introducing charges, which leads to change in the energy gap, which can be detected also either optically or electrically. So this shift that we can detect, this change allows us to use this as a sensor. We started this theoretically, and then it took us many years actually to do this experimentally and to achieve this, because you can imagine how difficult it is to create such a very small holes in the nanoscale. So basically we wanted to create this. So we wanted to create something like this. And then you modify these edges here. You modify these edges, and then you can attach some molecules, as I said. And when it is attached, you can observe the change in the signal. We tried many things until we finally managed to create this structure, as you see here. So we start with graphene. We deposit a very, very thin layer of gold. In this case, it makes islands, gold islands. And then we protect the rest of the graphene by another layer of chromium. And then we etch the gold, and then we etch the graphene by plasma. Then we end up with holes, as you see here. And these holes, we kept optimizing the system until we reached holes in the range of 20 to 25 nanometers, and the center-to-center distance was about 40 to 60 nanometer. We did all set of characterization to prove this, that this is really holes. And we also measured this as the optical properties of this using near field imaging. And with this, we could actually prove that we can also measure the plasmonic in these holes. I'm sorry that a lot of details are not here for the time's sake, but you can see this is published already. In this, you can see the publication here, and you can go to it and see this mechanism. And in fact, now we took this system further. So now we managed to specifically chemically modify these edges, which allows us to use it as a sensor. And actually, another example we also did that we embedded metal nanoparticles inside these holes to create a coupling between the plasmonics of these two, and also to enhance the electrical properties. And in fact, we used this as a biosensor. So you can imagine here you have the gate electrode, and you have here, this is your active layer, which is the hybrid. We called it a hybrid between the graphene and the metal nanoparticles. And we measured the change in the pH. So every time we change the pH, we see a change in the current, and this is how we used this as a pH sensor. And actually, we achieved a good sensitivity, as you see here. For the hybrid, it was 53.3 millivolt per pH, which is actually compatible or comparable to the recent biosensor or pH sensors in this field. And this is also published. You can go and check. And if you have any questions, you please feel free to ask me about it. I'm not going more further in the science or the research. As I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to come back to me. I want now to speak about the UNESCO and how all this beautiful research that you have shown and you are working on, how we can use it to as a useful tool for the societies, how to promote this for the development of the societies. So let me just introduce you to, I'm sure you all know about UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Culture Organization. It was established in 1946. Now it has 193 member states, so almost the whole world actually. And the main objective is to contribute to peace and the security of the world. Over this past 75 years, a lot of things were happened actually to promote science and engineering, and I am going to show you some examples. This is the building of UNESCO, the headquarters here in Paris. We work within a certain frame. We are a UN organization, so we work with the frame of keeping always the sustainable development goals. These goals were actually, if you all aware, or if you are following the UN news in September 2015, about 193 members of the United Nations General Assembly, they came together, they met, they discussed, and they announced their commitment to 17 different sustainable development goals. These goals represent an integrated approach to address several imperatives like poverty alleviation, like education, like health, sanitation, climate change, gender equality. All these things are very important for the development of the society. So basically, this contributes to, you have to work on the society, the environment, and the economy in order to improve the society and the people lives. So these are the 17 goals as you see them here. So as I said, they target the human needs through setting development goals, and they simultaneously also sustain natural systems. So we work in this frame. So all our work has to achieve the targets of these sustainable development goals. So this is an example here, the natural science sector, which is one of the 5 different sectors at UNESCO. Basically, we contribute to these goals 4, 5, 9, 17, 3, 2, 6, 11, 13, 15. You can go to the website and read what each one of these target is, or these sustainable development goals is. So we have the basic science and engineering and the science policy, and this is actually one of the sections or one of the divisions. This is working on increase the capacity to produce and to disseminate and apply basic science and engineering, also to develop and monitor STI policy, science, technology, and innovation, and to increase the capacity of indigenous knowledge systems. These 3 fall under the division of the basic science, engineering, and capacity building. And then, of course, the protection of natural resources. This is done through lots of international programs. These are examples here. Maybe the examples will be more clear here. These international and intergovernmental programs, there are many of them, as you see. So we have the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. There is the Man and Biosphere program. There is the International Basic Science Program. I will speak about this more. We have also the links for indigenous people. Many of you who study physics, you know, of course, the International Center for Theoretical Physics. This is a category 1 center under the auspices of UNESCO. You have also the World Academy of Science, which gives a lot of fellowships, a lot of grants, and I'm sure many of you can apply actually to these grants. They award many of the African scientists. All these programs, international and intergovernmental programs, help to support the researchers all over the world and support also the Sustainable Development Goals. The International Basic Science Program, this falls under the section of Basic Science and Engineering, and the program basically supports the national, regional, and global program in all these things you see, in pure applied mathematics, in physics, in chemistry, in biological sciences, and interdisciplinary science like the STEM, and I will speak more about the STEM because we have very nice achievements in this field. Before I talk about the STEM, I want to mention one of the important tools of UNESCO, which is Category 2 centers. Research centers around the world or centers of excellence can submit applications to be considered as Category 2 center under auspices of UNESCO, and this gives them lots of benefits, and also they have to achieve, of course, certain criteria. Currently, for basic science, we have around 21 centers around the world. You see here there are 4 in Africa, in different fields also, as you see, basic science, biotechnology, and engineering. Engineering, we have only 1 in Africa. Hopefully, we can have more soon. Also in basic science you have here. So these are important tools because we work directly with them. For example, they can host students, they can come with new projects that can achieve our goals. Also, we have in the field of basic science and engineering, we have 76 UNESCO chair. We just listened to the wonderful talk of Professor Malik Maza, who is one of the most active chairs, UNESCO chairs actually in the world. So we have 11 in Africa, we have 4 in the Arab states, we have 12 in Latin America, we have in Asia and Pacific 17, and we have in Europe and North America, we have 32. In all these fields that you see here, in microbiology, in health, in cryobiology, in green chemistry, in environmental engineering, they are covering all computer science, astrophysics, they are covering almost all the different basic science fields and engineering as well. So this program that you see here, Unit 1, this is the program for the chairs, and you can please go to the website. All these informations are available on the website, and you can easily access, you can easily see how to become a UNESCO chair. Now let us move to one of the most important activities that through it we promote science, and we actually not only promote, we actually help school students and also university students to advance in the science. So we have here, you all know, of course, what is the STEM. STEM is basically science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we do this through hands-on method. You all know that in the schools or also in universities, in order to train the students and teach them, you need big labs with huge facilities, which can be very expensive. Sometimes some countries cannot afford actually having labs in all schools. So there are other solutions that we can help with, which is STEM kits. For that we have the microscience kits, we have the robotics, and we have the 3D printers. Let us talk about the microscience kits. These are basically, it's like you are having the big lab in such a small, I will show you a photo soon. And the student get trained on how to teach. They actually, through these microscience kits, these small kits, they learn a lot about, they learn actually physics, mathematics, and chemistry through them. So there is something called microphysics, microchemistry, and microbiology, and they learn a lot of basic science through it with very easy and cheap way. So the hands-on methods, they do this using by themselves and with very cheap methods. And then we have innovative tools also, like the robotics. I will also show some of these. And then we train the teachers themselves. So we send these kits and we we plan workshops to train the teachers, and the teachers train the students. So these are some of the examples of the activities in Africa and the SIDS countries, the SIDS islands. So here you have, now we have, I think, more than 20 different countries benefited from this program. We send the kits, as I said, and we plan and we train the teachers on how to teach the students and how to teach them all these basic science. So these are all examples, and I will go to more details here, maybe in this one, in the SIDS islands. For example, in the Seychelles and St. Lucia and in Haiti. These are, we did this agreement with Google, and Google provided us with these small robotics where through them also, as I said, they can download some applications and learn about the physics and math. The good thing here is that the students, after learning, they can code, they can create their own codes, and so they can also create some new applications. Here also there is the Grenada in Grenada, another example. And in fact, we have another tool, which is the 3D printers. And once they learn how to do this, they can actually produce the kits and the robotics themselves. And this happened after disasters sometimes, where it becomes very difficult to send these materials, or if there is no money, they can use the 3D printers that we provide with to produce these things, and they keep teaching the students, so the education does not stop. Another thing related to the STEM, I wanted to draw your attention to, which is the number of women in STEM education compared to men. This report was produced by UNESCO. It's called the Cracking the Code about the STEM education in the world globally. And according to this report, 35% of STEM students in higher education are women. Of course, this is a very low percentage, and this is one of the concerns of UNESCO. Gender equality is one of the priorities of UNESCO. So we are working on enhancing this and improving this and encouraging and empowering women to study STEM. Also, according to this report, only 3% of female students in higher education choose information and communication technologies. We really want to work hard on improving this and empowering women and increasing the number of women in the field of STEM education. So there are also some global science programs. So like, as I mentioned before, to us, for example, an ICTB, they offer a lot of opportunities for the students in developing countries in Africa. A lot of African countries benefited from this, actually. So they offer mentorship, fellowships for young investigators, multidisciplinary master and PhD programs. And also we have the Green Chemistry for Life, which is the FOSAGRO prize, where they offer this prize is actually fellowships for not only for students, but also for early career researchers. Again, I encourage all of you to look at this, to look at the TUAS website and the ICTB, to follow all these grants, because some of them are actually very good opportunities. One of the important activities also that UNESCO do in order to promote the science is the science report. This report is usually produced every 5 years. And so far, I think six reports have been produced so far. The latest was this year, 2021, in last June. And the series monitors the evaluation of the support system for science, technology, and innovation all over the world, which is very important because you always want to know the status of the science, so you know what to do. Does it need to be improved? What are the problems? You can tackle the problems also in order to solve them. So these kind of reports are extremely important. And you can imagine it takes 5 years to produce one report, because you collect data from all over the world. You have to collect the data accurately. You have to analyze the data. You have to work closely with the governments in order to provide these data. So one of the conclusions here of these reports, not the conclusions, but let us say one of the remarks of the report that was produced this year, 2021, is that the current development model is actually not sustainable. So this means we have to work more on making the current development goal more sustainable. So this is one of the targets of UNESCO at the moment. Also, the second thing is that the science-related biggest risk that threaten our world in the years to come is the failure of climate change mitigation. Climate change is a huge issue, and I was very glad to learn about the Nobel Prize in Physics this year that tackle these problems, and I'm sure you all saw it. So climate change is one of the things that needs all our attention. Also, one of the important notes was that the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the critical need to promote science more. We have all seen how difficult was it and how long it took to find a solution, and our life stopped almost for a year or more. So this means we need to put more into science in order not to have such issues again. I would like to show you here just two examples of the statistics or the graphs shown in this report in the field of material science and the nanotechnology. So in the field of material science, if you look at this graph here, you see the number of outputs, of scientific outputs, publications from not from all over the world, but from several countries. We see here China is the highest. So the number of publications from 2011 until 2019, it increased, as you see, by maybe 50%. So in 2011, it was more than 52,000, while in 2019, it was 93,000. So this means that there is a huge interest, and people understand, scientists understand the importance of this for the society. However, I always like to say it's not by numbers, it's actually by the quality. So we should not really focus on how many publications we have, but we should really focus on the impact. This is extremely important point. And I would like to end here by this statistics, which is related to the topic of what I started with nanotechnology. So we see here that nanotechnology is number 4 in the number of scientific outlets. So scientific publications by cross-cutting strategic technology from 2018 to 2019, the nanotechnology came number 4 with total of about 87,000 publications. This is from all over the world. So not surprisingly, but you see that AI and robotics came first with a huge difference actually in number, 275,000. And this also shows us the importance of artificial intelligence now in our life, and maybe how it can take some of the things and make it completely different, makes our life completely different. However, we also need to remember that even the AI and the robotics are also developed based on basic science concepts. Energy and materials, nanotechnology, optoelectronics and photonics, biotechnology, and then other things. So I invite you also to take a look at this science report. It's available for free on the site, and it has very, very interesting information if you are interested to know more about not only being in the lab and doing the research, but also interested in knowing how to disseminate the science, how to disseminate your work, how to promote science and engineering for the sake of the societies. I invite you to take a look at this. I know that I started by, like I talked about completely different things. I started by really pure research. I ended up with just how to use this research for the societies. But I hope this was give you some more information about UNESCO and about what we do, and I will be happy to receive any question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Amal. So is there any questions in the chat or the Q&A?
If there are questions, I can just read and answer. No, I think this was for Professor Malik. No.
Yeah. Maybe you can just manage another time to give us about lecture only on UNESCO specifics activity, like as you mentioned about scholarships or even funding and fellowships. It will be very interesting for people, but unlikely you have your lecture at the end of the day.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I'm sure there will be other chances. I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Amal.
Actually, Dr. Ashraf, I have a question for Dr. Amal. First of all, thank you very much for a very nice talk and letting us know more about UNESCO. So it's very interesting. So as Dr. Ashraf said, it would be actually very interesting if you can give a talk explaining the funding opportunities and possible collaboration and the networking in UNESCO. I think this can help all researchers to connect with each other. But my question is, I noticed UNESCO are working here with